This gorgeous bike behind me is my Gen 4 Trek Domane SL5. This is a carbon endurance-focused road bike that I've had for 4 months and ridden for about 800 kilometers so far. While I love riding this bike and don't regret having bought it, the initial few months with it have been less than ideal. You can see that the tires are already mismatched. So if you're thinking about buying any Gen 4 carbon Domane, there are a few things you should be aware of before taking the plunge. Before getting into it, just briefly, let me talk about why I bought this bike. I've gotten addicted to the efficiency and speed of a road bike, but I wanted a bike that was more comfortable than my current roadie, and I wanted a road bike that I could easily ride on light trails and dirt roads that we have all around our city. For these routes that are mostly on tarmac, with a few short trails thrown in, a gravel bike would actually be inefficient overkill. Also, as you can see, I don't have a typical cyclist physique, and I'm not a very bendy guy. So from all the endurance bikes available, the Trek Domane SL won because it has probably the most relaxed geometry in this segment, in addition to ISO-speed tech for comfort. I will say that in my experience so far, the Domane has already excelled at meeting both these requirements. More details in a later video, but for now, back to our main event. First problem, seat post is too short. I needed the saddle just 1 centimeter higher, but that would violate the minimum insertion depth and you don't want to mess with that on a carbon bike. Before you say I got the wrong size, consider this. With the stock seat post set to its maximum height, the saddle to bar drop was only about 4 centimeters. Even for an endurance bike, many riders would need significantly more than this. Up to size 56, Trek provides a rather short 280 mm post, going up to 320 mm only for sizes 58 and above. I checked a few other brands and they provide a 350 mm post across all their sizes. Of course, the geometries are different, but they are not different enough to make this ridiculous seat post length okay. Since this is a Domane specific seat post, I had to pay just about $125 for their longer post, which I had to specially order and wait for. So right out the door, I was riding with a suboptimal seat height. The bike comes stock with Bontrager R3 tubeless ready tires, and they were set up tubeless for me by my store with Bontrager sealant that is supplied with the bike. Long story short, in 800 kilometers of riding, I've had 3 punctures that wouldn't seal. Part of the issue is the sealant is poor quality. I was told it wouldn't seal cuts that were 4 mm wide, which was what my first puncture was like. The primary problem is that the tires themselves should have been more resistant to these sorts of punctures in the first place. While I have taken the Domane off-road, all my punctures took place while I was riding regular city streets here in India. I know punctures are a matter of luck, but I have ridden these roads with my previous road bike, and 3 in 800 kilometers is a bit much, especially for tubeless tires. With my third puncture, I knew it wouldn't seal, so I plugged it. This got me home, but the tire still lost air. I replaced the sealant with silica, but unfortunately the plug made too big a hole in the tire and it still wouldn't seal. As you can see, I've had to change this tire. There's a good chance starting off with better sealant would have prevented this. Now, I've seen these tires receive decent reviews from reputed cycling sites and on the Domane forum on Facebook. I've seen a few people really happy with these tires, having gone thousands of miles on them without a single puncture. However, there are many more complaints about these tires being rubbish, having poor puncture protection, and there are several posts about them delaminating without significant use. Many post about replacing them right off the bat. Trek advertises the Domane as an all-road bike, a bike for smooth pavement and light gravel, they say. However, with these tires and the sealant, I believe they are setting you up for failure. What you should do, at the very least, when you buy your Domane, take the stock Bontrager sealant and gift it to the guy or girl who keeps stealing your KOMs, while you give these tires a fighting chance by starting off with sealant that's much better, like Markov or Silica. Now, for the PS, the resistance of the problems, we are back at the seat post. The SL series unbelievably has a problem where the seat post creaks and slips. In the first month, when I was riding with a stock seat post, I had a feeling my legs weren't extending enough. But I thought I just needed to get used to the bike. Never dreamt that the already short post had dropped from its initial position. It had actually dropped nearly 2 centimeters. After I switched to the longer post, man, the bike would creak like nobody's business. It was so embarrassing on group rides where my almost $4,000 bike sounded like its frame would crack on the very next pothole. Pedaling ultimately felt so inefficient that it was now very obvious that the post had dropped significantly. I was curious about this problem, so I ran a poll on the Trek Domane Facebook group, which received over 160 responses. Nearly 60% of the respondents had experienced either a significant noise or an outright dropping problem. 80% of those weighed over 80 kilos or 176 pounds. I'm one of them at 94 kilos. The poll doesn't capture the weights of the users who did not have the problem, but the results do seem to imply that heavier guys have a higher chance of experiencing this issue. Now, it turns out the isospeed wedge or tongue combination is to blame. I had revision 1 of the wedge, and after a warranty replacement to revision 2, both the noise and the dropping issues appear to be resolved. In India, I managed to get the problematic parts replaced in 10 days. But there are riders, even in the US, who stated their replacements out of stock and wouldn't be available for months. There are others who have had issues even with the revision 2 wedge, for whom the revision 4 wedge has fixed the problem. If you're buying this bike, pop the isospeed cover off and check what wedge you have.
Do you want the last donut?
No, don't you know I ride a Trek Domane SL5 Gen 4 with a revision 2 wedge? Can't say for sure that the problem is weight related, but I sure as hell cannot afford to put on any more. What is frustrating here is that Trek has known about this problem for some time, but they don't volunteer this information when you buy the bike. For months, I've been riding with a creaking dropping post, bewildered and frustrated by the problem. When I asked my local Trek store, who I must say have been very helpful and supportive throughout this ordeal, they had no idea about this being a known issue either. Only when I showed them these posts and they checked with the local Trek HQ, did Trek tell them that there's a problem, send them a detailed service bulletin and replacement parts after a warranty claim. If you look at the posts on the Domane Facebook group, you'll find that a significant number of dealers across the globe are similarly uninformed. Every week, there's a post or two from someone new to the issue, complaining about the noise or a dropping seat post, many of them wasting time trying to find their own solutions to the problem, applying more carbon paste, over-talking, or maybe using a shim because unless you go searching, you'll think that it was something only you were experiencing. Obviously, the problem is widespread, and I have no idea why Trek isn't proactively reaching out to customers or at least their dealers to let them know that there's an issue with this bike. As I said before, I love riding the Domane, and I don't regret having bought it. It's been downright fantastic on mixed surface rides. On trails, the tires had just the right traction, and it's been fairly zippy on roads. The rides were far more comfortable as well. If you want to buy a Gen 4 Domane, I'm certainly not going to tell you not to. Just be aware of these potential problems that you may have with the bike and the not insignificant expenses you will then have to incur to bring the bike to what I believe is the level it should have been right out of the box. Until next time, ride safe.